Hey, good morning, Mortgage Coach, and welcome to another Tuesday call, 9 o'clock Pacific every Tuesday. We bring in great leaders, whether it's an author, whether it's a speaker, whether it's a trainer, and lots of industry experts, people that are in the trenches right now doing business. My name is Dave Savage. I'm the CEO of Mortgage Coach. If you're on this call, you are a Mortgage Coach member, or you're a friend, a guest of a Mortgage Coach member, make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and the Mortgage Coach Facebook page. Today, our special guest is Mr. Ken Perry, and we're going to talk about how you can turn TRID into a competitive advantage. So, Ken, welcome to the call, and thanks for making time, brother. Ken, you are muted. Are you with us, my friend? All right. Well, hopefully we'll have Ken on the call in just a minute. And Marcy, can you confirm that everybody can hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you,
Dave.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, guys. All right. So if you could chat with Ken, figure out how we can bring him back into the call. I also want to give everybody a heads up that just following this call at 10 o'clock Pacific, we're going to have Mitch Kiter, Joe Patura, our president, and myself are going to interview Mitch, more of just our TRID preparation. Also, I want to do a big shout out to RC and Ryan Hills of the RE Source TV. They came out with a great 4-minute video that, one, did a bit of a shout out and update about the change in TRID implementation. They want a big thank you guys for helping us promote the Mitch Kiter call today. And they just did a great job of making a case for why mortgage professionals should be using video. And I do believe that when you look at TRID, at the end of the day, it's all about being more efficient, more effective with how you communicate with borrowers and realtors. And there's no doubt video is a great strategy for that. So I highly recommend you watch this video. We'll put a link to it in the chat of today's GoToMeeting. And it's also, I did a push on my own Facebook page and our company Facebook page. So before we bring Ken in, I wanted to bring Nikki Groff in for a couple reasons. One, her call last week was fantastic. It's already been watched over 100 times. I have already received, I don't know, I want to say a dozen, but somewhere between 6 to a dozen emails thanking me for that call. Because what Nikki did as a leader of her organization, she took the Mortgage Coach sales process and she made it hers. So she came up with some new touch points that are not only hers from a team perspective, but as the leader of Wallach and Bolt, from a marketing perspective, how she's going to teach and train the organization. She's also a customer of Ken Perry's, and I know they use the Knowledge Coop for a lot of not only the compliance training, but the sales training. So, hey, Nikki, before I bring you in, I just want to see one more time. Ken Perry, did you make it into the call? All right. Well, hopefully we'll get that figured out in the next 5 to 10 minutes. In the meantime, Nikki, I'll share your desktop. I know you have some follow-up thoughts from our call last week. If you wouldn't mind, sharing, what's on your mind and what you want to provide to the Mortgage Coach community as a follow-up to last week.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks. It's kind of interesting with everything happening and TRID coming and now TRID being moved to possibly October 1st. I started doing some seminars to real estate agents, and I just had one the day that new news flash came out, and I said, obviously I built the CE class prior to this coming out when they said they were absolutely positively not going to be changing the date, and look what happened this morning. So that was pretty interesting. But I just really wanted to start by sharing my MCY. I think that it's when we integrate things into our system, obviously there's got to be a reason behind it. And so I just wanted to share why we use our edge and how important I believe it's going to be post-TRID. So I just kind of typed this up to share with everyone on the call, just showing that, with short-term decisions do close the deals, but it's long-term decisions that endears and closes multiple deals. So my goal as an originator is to help clients realize their actual home ownership goals and customize the financing to those goals. And Edge brings that unparalleled experience to the client for them to understand the strategies that we structure for them. In a fast and easy communication world, Edge delivers for us. Clients do not have to pull out their calculators or shuffle through a bunch of paperwork to see what options are out there and available for them. Once the goal is defined and we determine the solution, then Edge simply is the best way to educate and sell that solution. And that's why we've integrated Edge into our, especially with TRID coming out.
Well, I love that, Nikki, and I'm interviewing Simon Sinek in July, and so if you have any questions for him, but he, wrote the book on It Starts With Why, and I think he's got the most watched TED video of all time. But when I interview top loan officers, so often it's the why that drives their success. By the way, Ken Perry, I want to do one more mic check. Are you on the call, Mike or Ken?
Let's try this out. Can you hear me?
Boom. There you are, my friend. Well, I wanted to do a mic check. You're here. I'll more formally introduce you in a minute, but don't do anything to your mic until the call's over, and we'll see you in just a few minutes.
All right. Cool. Awesome.
All right. Go ahead, Nikki.
Sure. Well, I pulled this up. This is actually, I just thought it was hilarious. Last week, our team hosted our mastermind lunch, and that's where we bring in, 25 of our agents that we currently work with, and we share some of the thing that a lot of the statistics and graphs that Bridge Builders has. And this was one of the slides that we showed, and it was really a hot topic, communication. We found that our real estate partners are truly afraid of not having the proper communication with their lenders through TRID. And I find that as a competitive advantage. Here it doesn't matter if we're all there on the table and we're trying to do our job if we don't lift on three, because the guy holding the feed, it doesn't help the poor guy on the floor. So I think from, like I said, a competitive advantage is definitely going to be communication and making sure our real estate agents know that we're here to be part of their team, because a lot of the big banks that are out there, because of some of the things that they're going to be doing in restructuring their centralized processing and closing departments, some of that communication might just be lost. So I thought this was just kind of fun to share with our real estate agents. They got a kick out of it. There was an article that just came out. It was published yesterday, but I thought this was a good insight just to take a look at the different perspectives of the real estate agent and the lender, and also our escrow officer, what the top 5 things that they are nervous about, and also wanting to be prepared, making sure that they are integrating this into their systems as TRID comes out. I won't go over the article. I just wanted to let you know that it was here, and it was just showing the lender's perspective, the real estate agent's perspective, and then the settlement agent's perspective. It was really a great article to take a look at, so you can see what our industry is hearing and reading out there. And just to recap.
Hey, Nikki,
oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Nikki, hey, real quick, if you don't mind, wherever the link is to that, when Ken is sharing in a few minutes, if you could either forward it to me and I'll put it in the GoToMeeting chat, or if you could just put it in the GoToMeeting chat so people can click on it and read it, that'd be great.
Oh, sure. I'll get that over to you.
Okay.
And
cool.
then just to recap, this is what we did on our post-TRID timeline. This is actually, we've been working on it just even from last week, just from a team standpoint of making sure after we had our mastermind lunch and some of the things that our real estate agent partners had come to us, they asked us to put together a calendar. So we're working on putting together a 30-day calendar for them of the perfect transaction, how to actually close a loan in 30 days. And if anything's going to be changing, how they need to adjust their close of escrow accordingly. And then the other thing is they gave us some touch points of where along this process that they would really like to have a personalized phone call. Just being able to pick up the phone and call your real estate agent and making sure that they understand that we're on track, this is where we're at, and if there are any hiccups or bumps in the road, what they could possibly do to help make sure that we ensure closing on time. So I did share this with our real estate agents, and they were, I think it was a little bit of an eye-opener. We showed them kind of a picture of pulling back the red curtain and letting them know what we really do behind the scenes, and they were appreciative to that. But one thing that the article,
so by the way,
yeah.
I just want to say how pro that is. I mean, imagine you're a realtor, you've got this strategic relationship, and, Nikki's not telling how great she is and how prepared she is. She's demonstrating it. So anyways, I thought that was awesome. Continue.
Oh, well, in the article, when I sent it over to you, you made some good points. There were a few keys to success that weren't shown in that article. And it really is making sure you can show the cost of the 5 years and the tip with confidence and clarity, and then utilizing video so we can be more effective and efficient on how we communicate to our borrowers and to our real estate agents, and having that confidence behind it. Because when we were able to say at the end of our lunch, we've got this, don't worry, we've been doing it this way for a while now, you could see their stress level lower. And that's what they really want to know. They want to know that we've got this. And I know that I showed this to you, Dave, and I had to put it in the coop to send out to our loan officers in our company, and I did send this out to my real estate agents, but I just thought that this was a kick.
Yeah, no, when I got it, I was like, boom. In fact, I grabbed it, and I don't know what I'm going to say, but when I open the call with Mitch Kiner later today, I'm going to show this slide because I think it makes a great point. A picture says 1,000 words, and there's no doubt there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of confusion. So very cool. So Nikki, thanks so much for coming back, providing some kind of review on some thoughts. I would love it if you would stay on the call as I bring Ken Perry back into the call, and let's just kind of interview Ken Perry together, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So for everybody, before I bring Ken in, I want to remind everybody it starts with why. Nikki has got really clear on her mortgage coach why, as not only a team leader, a production team leader, but as a leader to her organization. She has embraced this complexity and this challenge. She's created scripts. She's taken a lot of our playbook and she's made it her playbook. So just a reminder, we made this available to you last week, and it's also, we'll add it to the handouts. But we've created some scripts, some playbook for our customers, and we've made that available to you by listening to the recording of this call or the recording of last week's call, and make it yours. This is what Mickey does. I got an email from Lori Richardson with Cherry Creek, and she watched your call last week, and she got one touch point from you, and she's updating her script. So one thing for sure is TRID is making Mortgage Coach even more powerful because we're powering more touch points. So with all of that said, let's bring Ken Perry. Ken has become a great personal friend of mine over the years since I moved to the Northwest. But I think what's important for today's call, Ken is absolutely one of the most respected compliance trainers in the industry. In the Northwest of Oregon and Washington, most large lending platforms bring in Ken to do their MLS training, but he does a lot more than that. He is the CEO of the Knowledge Coop, which is an LMS, a learning management system that is used by a lot of our clients to not only power compliance training, but to power sales training. So, as we prepare for TRID, I think it's important, we all know what to do, but we've got to change our habits. We've got to change our behaviors, and we've got to retrain ourselves to do things differently. I can't remember the quote right now, but I believe this, that the most successful people are the people that can change, that can unlearn old habits and relearn new habits. So Ken Perry, I'm going to share the desktop with you. I know you've got some things you want to walk through and you want to share with the Mortgage Coach community. So if you could confirm that you have the desktop.
I've got it. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you perfectly, and we see your desktop.
Excellent. Dave, thanks for having me on. And I love that Nikki's on the call too, just because she brings that calm and that, we've got this covered, it's going to be okay, which is part of my message for today. I will say, Dave, you mentioned always, being comfortable with that change and always kind of going after it and trying to get better all the time. We always talk about, in my company, we talk about practicing Kaizen, which is an old term, but it deals with the constant improvement. Always getting better, always trying to figure it out. And I think that's one of the issues we have with TRID is a lot of companies still operate under that old system of everybody's their own person, and we don't have a lot of systems that we've created to be successful. And great companies are companies that actually have systems to get through things like this and to get through it through collaboration and through getting the whole organization on the same page. And so I think it's interesting when I go look at companies and talk to loan officers, a lot of loan officers are doing things different than the guy sitting right next to them. And I think that there is a perfect way to do loans, Yes, everybody's got their own tweak on it, but there's a perfect way to do loans, and if we can all be working together on that, we can create success. But again, that goes back to always getting better and knowing you're not there. I think it's funny. I've been doing this since '03. That's when I launched the company. And in 2003, I felt like I was pretty smart. And in 2004, I realized that in 2003, I was completely dumb. And in 2005, I realized that in 2004, I wasn't that smart either. And so every year, I look back on the last year and go, wow, I was not that great last year, which tells me that I'm constantly improving. And the year that I go, man, I was way smarter last year, or I was way better last year, then I've got a big problem, because that means I took my eye off of really the improvement that needs to happen. And so in the industry with TRID, if we can all sit down and say, how do we actually deal with this as a group, then we're so much better off. So I'd encourage, if you're listening to this call, and by the way, whoever is, somebody's super loud, if you guys can mute a little bit. There's some heavy breathing. There's something going on. So as you look at this, if you're on this call and you're with, let's say there's 5 of you on this call from your company of 20 people, then I'm hoping you're the ones that have been selected to be the experts, and you're going to share this back with the extra people at your office. But if you're on this call and you're 5 people and there's 15 at your company that aren't on the call, we've got to find out a way. We've got to get this back to them. We've got to work together, because this TRID isn't something that you can take on by yourself. It's something you want to group together on. So let me give you I just have the coop up. This is kind of a demo of the coop. But let me just give you a couple notes I have. I jotted them down real fast so that I could have a visual for you. I like having no visuals. It's kind of more fun. So here's quickly for you tips for getting through this. Number one is, my company's famous saying is collaborate, communicate, and educate. That's what we believe in. The first thing you can do really right here is stay calm and comply on. The freak out doesn't work. And that goes with this eliminate the noise. What I see a lot of times right now is these emails telling everybody it's going to take them 45 to 60 days to actually close a loan right now under the new system. And all that does is freak you out. And it just makes you go, oh my gosh, something's changing and I don't fully understand it, but I know it's going to be horrible. And that unfortunately has been headlines. It's wrong, and I did the math to try and figure out just how bad is this. If you actually want to go, let's say you're closing loans in 30 days, to make yourself close loans in 45 days, the work you have to do to be that bad of a loan officer is intense. Because to go from 30 to 45 days, that's 3-day waiting periods that you have to reset every 3 days. That's 5 times that you have to be so bad that you have to redo the CD, the closing disclosure, and wait another 3 days. And all 5 times you have to do it on the 3rd day. So you have to really mess up to really extend this out very long. But by reading the headlines, you would think that the whole world's going to fall apart and none of your loans are going to close. The CFPB wrote this in a way that it allows you to make some changes without having to delay or to create a new 3-day waiting period on the closing disclosure. So a lot of even the issues they're bringing up aren't issues that will totally affect you as long as you have a quality system in place. Number 3 here, if you could really focus on this, I love the work that Nikki's put in to actually be an expert on this stuff, but this is one of those don't try this at home speeches. I have seen, it's so funny, the definition of expert has become hilarious to me because it's just somebody who decides to call themselves that. If you guys are out and about, you'll see a lot of seminars on TRID. People will go out and do lunch and learns and stuff like that. Nikki knows what she's talking about and needs to be out there doing that. A lot of you on this call know what you're talking about and you need to be out there doing that. But if you're on this call and you're like, I don't fully understand what this TRID thing is, then do not go out there and do a lunch and learn, a speech, or whatever, because here's what that does. Number one, people get disappointed when they get there and they're not seeing you as an expert. And if they see you as an expert, they will trust you, they will send you business. It is incredible what that does for you. But so number one, they might not see you as an expert. But number two, they're not going to go to any TRID webinars anymore or TRID meetings anymore. I just talked to a guy that does he's the quote-unquote TRID expert for his company. And I started talking to him about the CFPB and all the things going on, and he actually couldn't keep up with even the most basic of conversations. What happened was his company needed to call somebody that, so they just called him that, and he doesn't really know what he's talking about. So what you do is you lose all of your credibility with your client base and with your referral partners because you've called yourself something that doesn't exist. And then what they'll do is they go to that seminar and they go, wow, apparently nobody knows anything. I'm not going back to another seminar. This industry needs to get up to date by October 1st. And Nikki, by the way, you're not the only one. I was telling people there's no way that they delay the date because there was nothing indicating they were going to delay the date till October until they messed that one thing up. And so, no, we all thought that. Every expert I know is saying there's no way that they're going to delay the date. I'm still hoping they delay it to January 1st now because they said on August that they don't want to mess with the school year. And I'm thinking, well, shoot, starting in October, we got to start getting, costumes for our kids for Halloween. November's bad because of Thanksgiving. We have Christmas in December, maybe January. So I don't know that they will, but I don't doubt that they're flexible now. But just make sure that before you go out there, you actually know what you're talking about. The best way to do that, of course, calls like this are great. Dave's got a call right after this. It's going to be great if you can join that call as well with Kiter. But no matter what, your best way is collaboration. In 2003, when I started this company, I wrote my first seminar on a law, and I started traveling around the country speaking on the do not call laws followed by identity theft. And I read every single federal law that deals with mortgage and started training all over the country on these federal laws. And I have a niche, and then I can bring a lot of humor to a compliance seminar. That's like my thing. And so I just killed it all over the country doing that. As soon as Dodd-Frank passed, it occurred to me, I can't do this by myself anymore. There's way too much going on for me, even with the knowledge that I have from reading these laws and rules. I can't keep up anymore. So I've got a team at my company that is a compliance team that we all work together to collaborate to know what we're talking about. And then I've got people all over the country that we'll just kind of chat with and say, what are you seeing? What's going on? And because really we have to work together as a group. So when I look at what successful companies do to get through TRID, it's going through this as a company. So how do we get our company to get together and decide how we want to do it? How do we create a system that works and is successful? Which means we have to look at the company and think, who are the people that will dive into this stuff, and how can we get this trained out to everybody else? If a company is willing to do that, then you can be really successful with this. And I've watched Nikki and her team kind of lead that force and lead that charge in the coop to get everybody trained up on what they need and make sure everybody has some sample presentations. They've got some marketing pieces on this. They've really strategized over at Wallach & Volk to make sure that this goes out successfully. But for every one of Nikki's company, I see 10 other companies that are still not dealing with this as a company. The best way you can do that is get a team together and decide, what is it we need? How many things are we behind on? How do we get up to date? Let me give you a quick example. I think still one of our biggest issues we're going to have, I think there's two issues I've identified that might be smaller issues, but they're significant. And so as far as significance go in your daily life, there's two big issues. The first one is I think we've got an issue on the wholesale side, and the second one is, and obviously this isn't all our issues, but the second one is with our appraisals. Let me deal with the appraisal one first. The appraisals are going to be an issue because the appraisal system is so messed up. Consumer protection around appraisals has totally messed up the system. And so you have these situations where an appraisal management company dictates everything. You don't even know what the price of the appraisal is going to be until it gets back to you. If it's in a rural area, they're jacking you for more fees. I mean, it's going to be interesting because part of the new TRID says that you have to make a good faith estimate of the fees, and you can't fluff the numbers anymore. And so if I'm looking at an appraisal, my appraisal management company is constantly adding fees, then I've got to sit down with my team and we've got to work through that and say, where are the consistencies? Obviously rural. Obviously when the house is bigger, there's going to be an issue. And so for me to get accurate on my numbers, my team at my company, if I'm a mortgage company, my team's got to get together and say, what is our appraisal management company doing to us? Because I think oftentimes we think of ourselves as victims, right? I'm a victim of appraisals. Oh my gosh, appraisals keep coming in higher than I expected. That just stinks. No, it doesn't just stink. It's something we've allowed into the system. And if we sit down as a company and say, what are we willing to tolerate and what agreements do we need in place, then we can have a good strategy for making that right. Because otherwise, you guys are going to eat a lot of appraisal fees now that appraisals are part of the thing that you can't go up by even $1 on. So it's something that you're going to watch out for, but you're going to strategize that as a company to demand a better process from your appraisal management company or to find a new appraisal management company, because it's going to cost you way too much money to have a failing AMC. But the second one is on the wholesale broker side, we've got this situation of who sends out the loan estimate. So some lenders are saying that some creditors are saying that as a wholesale lender, we're the ones who will send out the LE, the loan estimate. And that sounded really smart because creditors are actually on the hook for and liable for a bad loan estimate. And so I heard a lot of people saying that. One of the most intelligent people I know in this business, a couple of them, were talking to me about that. And these guys are a wholesale lender out of the Northwest. And I was talking to these guys about it, and I was like, so are you guys just like every other creditor going to send out the LE? And he said, no. He's like, we're actually talking about that right now, because what happens is if the creditor sends out the LE and requires the LE to be sent out by them, when you factor in that everything triggers on the day the broker receives the application, if a broker gets an application, which is those 6 things, and the broker doesn't find a lender to place it within 3 days, then every lender that requires that they send out the LE is not going to be able to fund that loan, which means the company has to get a list together of which lenders will fund the loan if we send out the LE. And so when you look at, you're sitting in the knowledge coop right here, by the way. This is something only sold to companies, so companies have their entire company on the coop. So if I have a company that's doing wholesale lending business, what I am telling them to do immediately is find out from every one of their lenders who sends out the LE. And you're doing that so that you can actually answer these questions for your people in the coop. So if I'm in the knowledge coop and as a company, and I go in, I'm just going to pull up the activity real fast, feed real fast. I want to have somewhere in here what lenders allow us to send an LE on our own. So I've got a giant list of companies that I can call with maybe their phone numbers, their website, all that stuff. Because as a lender, right, if I'm a wholesale broker, let's say, I need to make sure everyone at my company has access to this information so that within 3 days I can get this stuff out there. So what we're looking at is helping our clients go in and say, what are the questions that everybody needs answers to quickly? And instead of putting on some intranet that nobody ever goes to, our clients are throwing them into the coop so that you can ask that same question, what lenders allow, and immediately those answers start popping up. So it's right there to send the LE on our own. So everything's got to be searchable and quick to grab. So when we talk about strategizing with your company, those are the things I'm talking about, is coming up with a list of where are our potential issues and how do we solve for those things. And if you guys are using a system where the communication is all going through emails, I don't know about you guys, but I probably have 20,000 emails sitting in my inbox right now. I don't know that I'm even joking. Everything's got to be in a system where I can go grab that information when I need it, and that's why we created the coop. Couple final things, and I'll open up. I know I'm kind of talking fast, but I'll open up, Dave, for some more directed questions. But strategizing with your team, and by this I don't mean just your internal team. External team is big. I will tell you, I almost cried at this seminar I gave 2 weeks ago in Boise, Idaho. I was speaking on LE or TRID, and as I was talking, we had a really cool realtor in the room. He was a broker, a real estate broker from downtown Boise, big time guy, and he gave the greatest speech that I wish every realtor would give. He was talking to real estate agents in the room, and he said, look, number one, we got to start working together better. And he was talking about, specifically if a borrower doesn't have an email address and we need something from them, or we need them to receive the closing disclosure so that they can have it for 3 days, then the realtor's going to have to drive out and pick something up or deliver something. I mean, the realtor's going to turn into a courier. And what this guy was saying is you guys have to be ready for that. It's not your loan officer being lazy. It's that we all have a problem. We all have a problem to solve, or we have a task to complete, and that is get this loan out the door. And so he was saying we need to do that. He also gave the greatest speech on local lending is the only way to go. And I was a huge fan of that coming from a realtor. It's great, but I think as a loan officer, your big push with your real estate clients is you can reach me, you can see me, I can see borrowers, and if I need to drive to a borrower's house to get something, I'm going to do that. If a lender that's an online lender that isn't local needs that to get that disclosure out, and the borrower doesn't have email, what is that lender's option for getting that disclosure to the borrower so that we can start the 3-day waiting period? I'll answer that for you. If you don't have email and the online lender wants to get it to the borrower, they're sending it and we're counting 3 days in the mail, Then we're counting 3 days once they receive it. Then we're getting out the closing disclosure, which is going to delay your closing. And that was what this realtor was communicating is, don't use an online lender. Don't, tell your borrowers it's best to use somebody locally, because with our timelines the way they are, we need to have that local representation so that you've got somebody locally fighting for you and getting the things done that may need to be done in person. And so it's great to hear him say that. For you, it's definitely key for you to get in front of your realtors and strategize. So it's not just you coming in and saying, guys, here's the deal, this is what needs to happen. It's you laying out the problem and solving it together. Because I don't know if you guys have, I'm sure you've been through team building exercises. When you put a problem in front of a group of people and you throw a flip chart up there and you start devising strategies together, it bonds you with that person. So if I was a loan officer today, I would go into a real estate office that I'm working with. I'd bring in my realtors and I'd be like, guys, we got an issue. Here's what we got to figure out. And you start outlining the problem. You let them be part of the solution. And now they're not just being barked at or being told that, given excuses. What they're getting at that point is they're getting to participate in a process of successfully closing loans and getting people into homes. And you were the one that led that. So it's strategy sessions versus just speaking. You don't want to be, even I'm careful now as far as that expert word. I'm an expert on federal law in the mortgage industry, right? I still am very careful with that on the TRID stuff, because there's still a little bit of gray in there, a lot of gray in there, where I don't want to go out and and say something that they're going to then run everything off of unless I fully researched it. So we answer very specific questions in the coop for our clients, but I'm not out there doing that as much, and I'd encourage you to stay away from that as well. So just avoid the speaking to them and speak with them more. So get a collaborative strategy session going. Things to consider for you, and these are two things that I think are just huge. Number one is a written plan. We've got a client in Denver that I absolutely think is amazing, and it's because he's decided what the perfect loan process is, and everybody does it the same way. And so when you do that, when you've got a team and everything's in writing, then we all know what we're working towards, and we all know what steps it's going to take to get there. So a written plan for implementing TRID is huge. In a company that's just starting to beta on Encompass or Buy It or Point or whatever, if you guys are just starting to beta, you need a beta team, and that's all in writing. The second thing, and for everybody on this call, probably the thing that hits you the most is that pre-GFE conversation. And I will tell you that innovation is something that this mortgage industry has not done well, in that we don't have a lot of technology innovators out there. Savage, I mean, you've done an amazing job. You're one of the few companies that has innovated this and that was doing it before it was cool. And we've innovated with the Knowledge Coop and allowing people to get better at communicating, collaborating, and shooting quick videos and all that. We absolutely believe in video. Everybody on this call, you've got to innovate. The CFPB said, or actually HUD, when they rolled out RESPA 2010, said you could give out anything you want and you can brand it and make it awesome before they get the GFE. Right, so there's this form we hate, and it's called the GFE. We don't want to send it out because we hate it. And the HUD, when they rolled it out, said, give them whatever you want to help them understand the process and understand what they're getting, what their costs are. But they said the only rule is you can't make it look like the old GFE. And this industry and all of its innovation and creativity, we just hit file print and printed the closing cost worksheet, which is what everybody else is doing, and we missed a chance to innovate. Now on this call, I understand we have a lot of Mortgage Coach clients on this call and Mortgage Coach Edge users. On this call, you guys are steps way ahead of everybody else in your innovation. Just make sure you're doing it on every deal and don't get lazy, because the norm is lazy, and so you stand out pretty easily when that pre-GFE conversation comes with that innovation of being able to shoot a video. I'll give you one quick story. We always do our brainstorming in Hawaii. My business partner and I fly out there and we walk the beach and we talk about where we're going as a company. 3 years ago, my business partner said, Ken, you need to start doing video. I said, Frank, there's no way in the world I'll get in front of a camera because I've been in front of a camera once and I froze and I wasn't myself, and I just can't be myself in front of a camera. And he goes, Ken, everything's going video. Video is the most important thing in our business and we're not doing it. And I was like, yeah. Because I don't want to do video because I hate video and I hate the way I look and I hate the way I sound. And he's like, people see you in person and they hear you in person. The difference is it's on video and you can see it and you don't like it, but you got to get over that. I'm like, Now, most of the work we do, I mean, I still fly around the country and speak, but the work we do in the coop, I mean, I've got hundreds of videos in the Knowledge Coop on every federal law, on growing your business, and all that stuff, and I shoot it all, and it's all me, most of it's me. And I've seen Dave shoot videos for the Knowledge Coop that are amazing and great, and great communicators of how to build your business, because I got over that fear. The thing is, if you guys if you guys look up Final Cut King, Final C-U-T-K-I-N-G, that dude taught me how to use Final Cut Pro to edit videos, only because he has videos walking me through how to edit videos. The guy has 11 million hits on each video. If he flies into any town, he could put on Twitter where he's having pizza, and that pizza place will fill because he's famous. He's famous because he does video, and we recognize him. Think about people that you see. I mean, we have Grimm that's filmed. I'm from Portland, Oregon. We have Grimm is filmed. It's a TV show. We run into those guys in restaurants or at the Blazers games, and we're like, oh my gosh, look who that is. You have the power to be that person, right? In your client's world, they see you on video, and for some reason that makes you famous. And I don't understand it. I was looking it up yesterday trying to find the sociology of fame by video. I don't fully understand it yet. But if they see you on their computer box, it all of a sudden makes you famous. And so if you guys are, and as you're rolling out TRID, it's never been more important for you to get that information to them in a way that they love it. And that's what video's done for me. When I fly into town, a lot of conferences I go to, people walk up and they're like, oh my gosh, I just saw you on my computer. It's because I shoot videos that they get to watch and they get to enjoy. So start innovating in your own world with that PFE conversation. I'm going to break. That's a lot of words.
Ken, you're awesome as always. I was taking tons of notes. By the way, folks, you were saying things like, oh, tell them to repeat that. And some of the questions that you want to ask Ken were a little cryptic. So if you have a question that you want me to ask Ken over the next 12 minutes, because that's how much time we have in the call, repost it, and I'll look at all the recent questions. So if you have a question for Ken Perry in the next 12 minutes, post it now. By the way, I just saw Ryan Hills raise his hand. Ryan is, to say he's a leader in video would be an understatement. And the video that I did a shout out for earlier on was a video that he did. But hey, Ryan, I have unmuted you. Anything you want to add to the conversation around video, or any questions you have for Ken Perry?
Hey, Dave, can you hear me?
We can hear you, buddy.
Hey, Ken, how's it going, buddy? Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff, guys. This is awesome. And Ken, you couldn't have said it any better about video, and evidence of that, especially with TRID. Ken and Dave and I were hanging out with some high-level folks in Seattle a while back discussing TRID. And Ken made a great point on how people learn, and it's not so much reading in books anymore. It's all in YouTube, and when you want to change a tire, or fix something, you Google it, just like Ken did with Final Cut Pro. And since you know that, leverage that to educate your buyers and your realtors. Everybody in the industry with TRID is putting out videos to educate their own people, which is their loan officers and their realtors, with TRID. So why wouldn't we do the same thing with our own, individual realtors and clients? So Ken, you hit it right there on the head, and happy to be a part of it.
Good. Hey, thanks for jumping in, and thanks for all the leadership you bring to the industry, brother. Appreciate you. I'm going to lower your hand. If you do have another question, feel free to raise it again and come back in. Okay, Ryan?
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right. Hey, Nikki, again, you're someone that, you're using Mortgage Coach to create videos for realtors and borrowers. You're using the Knowledge Coop as an enterprise client to train your loan officers. You just heard from Ken. Anything you want to add to the conversations or any questions for Ken?
I did the last CE class. I actually opened up with one of your guys' videos. It's Don't Get Scared, Get Better. And it's literally like a 3-minute video. And it's a very positive message, and I think it's a good message. And so I did share that with my real estate agents, and I got some really great feedback. So there are some videos that are out here on the Coop that you can take and you can share with your real estate partners that will, I think, put them at ease and let them know that you're researching, you're integrating touch points, you're working on your systems. to make sure that this is not going to be a big issue on the way of being able to close a loan. And on that article that I had had on my slide, from the Realtors perspective, I mean, this came from the director over at NAR, and the first bullet point was add 15 days to your transaction time. If you normally close in 30 days, make it 45, which that's not the message that I'm trying to send out to my real estate agents, because we all know if you push out your close of escrow to 45 days, that gives you an extra 15 days to not work on the loan. You know, so just making sure that you've got your touch points, you've got your systems in place. Obviously, there can be things that can, you know, change the transaction and your close of escrow because it's something that the borrower wants to do or the seller has agreed upon doing. But that happens in our transactions today.
So a couple things. By the way, Ken, anything you want to add to that before I bring a couple questions from the community in?
I'm glad you asked. Yeah. Nikki's so right. You know, what I worry about with people waiting till October, with the delay to October 1st, is that people will take their foot off the gas. So the same people that last week were saying, we just don't have enough time, we've got to roll out all these systems, now they're getting that extra time. I'm hoping they keep going as fast as they were, because we've really had a long time to get this implemented, and we just do everything last minute, just like I used to do in high school. You do the homework right before you're supposed to pass it in. So I'm hoping people will take their foot off the gas or start ignoring this or assuming it's going to get delayed again.
You know, Ken, I want to ask you real quick the same question that I'm going to ask Mitch in a little bit. But what are the three things, if there were three things, knowing that we have more time now, that loan officers should be doing with that extra time, what are those three things?
Wow. Okay, so what they should do with their extra time, number one would be all of your third parties. You've got to get guarantees from those people. We've let them slide on a lot of things for so long, and I wouldn't work, if I was a loan officer right now, I wouldn't send business to somebody that doesn't have a guarantee. I don't want to eat all your fees, and so I'd like everybody to get me some sort of what can I expect and have some sort of in stone nature to that, whether it be title or appraisal or anything like that. So it's time that we start demanding things from our third parties. So I think that would be first. Secondly, I think it's doing good research, and by that I mean, you know, this call should help. The Kiter call later after this will be great, but not just your own research. Again, it's getting together with your teams in your company and figuring this out. And then third, I think it's probably on that same note, it's identify those people in your company that have a unique gift for research and a unique gift for explaining. Find your teachers in your company, because you know what? There's so many things I suck at. In fact, when we do job descriptions, we call it things we suck at, and we write down everything my company sucks at, and then we use that as our job description for our hiring. So we should be using people in our company who are gifted. They might not be the best loan officers, but maybe they're amazing at teaching, and if we can tap into that, then a lot of us can stop focusing so much on TRID and just let those people in our company lead us into success. So I think if everybody's doing their own work on TRID, then what you have is a lot of wasted time and energy. Why not use each other?
Love it. So a number of questions are asking you to repeat things that you said. For everybody that asked a question like that, or you're kind of like, oh, what did he say? Again, we record this, we put it in our YouTube channel, and the best way to really retain information is to listen to it twice. So I'm not going to ask Ken to repeat anything. Really do appreciate those questions, but we just don't have time for that. Number of people are asking, what is the COOP? You know, Ken, how can people get a hold of you after this call if they want to know more about the COOP and your platform and, you know, how to bring you in as a speaker?
Oh, that's cool. And I speak all over the country. If you email ken@knowledgecoop.com, that'll go to my assistant, and I fly around speaking, and I would love to come out. And then companies actually have the COOP as their collaboration technology. It was so cool. We were in a meeting yesterday with a potential client, and he said, seeing how many people are using the COOP to train all their people and to communicate by video, he said, you know, the thing is, he goes, I'm not trying to get ahead of my competition. I'm now realizing I'm behind them, and I'm just trying to keep up by getting the COOP. Because this is the way everybody's communicating. So we allow you to dump your old systems, and you can drop in video by shooting it straight off your webcam, and you can assign that to people in your company so you can get the communication running better. So we try to eliminate internal email by allowing people to communicate just in the coop. And then we eliminate a lot of those compliance companies that are super boring and make you spend an hour staring at a screen. We do really cool, fun videos to do all of your compliance training all year long, and we deliver that in a way that's way better training than anything we've experienced outside of the coop. So we kind of become your trainer and your compliance officer, but it's all done, or assist your compliance officer, but it's all done in the coop where everything in your company becomes searchable.
So folks, again, we're huge fans. We've got a lot of our customers, a lot of you on this call, you already are with a company that uses the coop. You know, use it better, use it smarter. If you're, you know, you can't make the decision to bring the coop in, you know, introduce Ken to your compliance officer, to your CEO, to your head of production. You know, to me, I just believe that whatever you're using for compliance training, we do start using for change management around, one, the culture of the company, and two, improving our sales skills. So we've only got a couple questions or a couple minutes left, Ken, before we need to wrap it up. You know, Skip had a question, and he wants to know what are some of the misconceptions realtors have. Because I really, you know, between now and TRID, we cannot, you know, change that much about what we're doing with the borrower, other than we can make sure they're getting a total cost analysis. We can make sure we're delivering a mortgage coach experience. We can add a video to it so the borrower and the realtor's in the loop. But at the end of the day, where the big TRID opportunity is that thousands of realtors are going to change who they're doing business with. We know that. I mean, TRID is going to be a big deal, and some realtors are going to change their lender relationships like never before. And I want everybody on this call, I want them to be on the winning side. I want mortgage coach loan officers to pick up market share. So what are some of the misconceptions that you think the realtors have in the market right now?
Oh, that's a great question. I think one of the things is I actually see realtors think this is worse than it is. And that's because they're getting this feedback that Nikki was talking about of you need to make all your contracts 45 to 60 days. So I think they're definitely getting that, and they're thinking everything's going to be delayed. That's not really a win. That doesn't just give you more time, so you should feel better about that. That actually makes them think that it's tougher to close loans. And you want them thinking that it's just tougher to close loans if the company they're using isn't a good company. So they think everybody's going to be delayed, and if you can go in, and I love what Nikki did by showing you this is how we're communicating it to them, because you can't just say we got this. You got to say we got this, and here's how, and here's what we've already worked through. So if you can do that, you can eliminate a lot of their fear, which they're going to love you for, because you just have that different take on it. So I think that's one. Another one, there's so many realtors who don't even know this is happening, and that still blows me away. And if they do, like I spoke to 150 realtors a few weeks ago, and that was a group that I could just see their faces were so confused. And I was talking about compliance in general, and the mortgage industry is so compliance heavy right now. When I was talking to realtors, and I was like, you should check with your compliance officer on that, they were all giving me this look like, the heck are you talking about? Like, what compliance officer? What I found out is every branch doesn't have compliance, and sometimes it's all the way back in corporate. And so I think a lot of them just don't understand that what's going on. And when you start speaking to them, you can't even use the word TRID yet. You have to use very basic terminology to get them to the level where they can even understand what you're saying. So those are the two big ones: is either they don't know, or what they know has scared them so much they think they're not going to close loans. And keep in mind, the subconscious, if they think they can't close a loan, they're not going to try. So that's something you want to pay attention to.
Right on. So folks, we are going to wrap up today's call. Please let us know what you thought of today's call. If you're a guest on the call and you want to know more about Mortgage Coach, click the last option. I'd like a demo to learn more. I just can't emphasize enough, connect with Ken Perry. He told you how to email him. You can connect with him on Facebook, on LinkedIn. You know, if you are on this phone and you are with a company that uses the Knowledge Coop, use it. I mean, the biggest advice with TRID is it's just time to get better. We all know what we need to do for the most part. Question is, do we do it? So it is an opportunity to do better, and it's a huge opportunity to pick up market share. Hey, Nikki Groff, thank you so much for your leadership. Any last thoughts from you as we wrap up today's call?
You know, I think that Ken mentioned about the fees and making sure we have the appropriate fees on our good faith estimates. And I know as loan officers in our compensation, we don't really get hit, but our companies get hit for those unpaid fees. And just a reminder that if the companies are being hit with these unpaid fees because we're not appropriately putting together our estimates, that's going to trickle down to our rates and what we're able to give out to our consumers. So that might be a bigger impact than what we really think about it, you know, that it might be right now.
Well, very, very good point, guys. So again, I want to remind everybody that we do record these calls. Both this call and the call I'm doing with Rich Kiter later today will be in our YouTube page. So I urge you, make sure you subscribe to it. So every time we upload a video, it's right here. And today's call will be uploaded within minutes. You know, Nikki's call, as you can see, it's been watched 132 times or 133 times. Also, you know, we've got these playlists. So, you know, realtor strategies, quick hits, scripts, you know, information on compliance. It's all here. So, Ken, thanks again for taking the time to prepare for today's call and to deliver so much value today. Really appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, Dave.
Take care, everybody.